Hey, welcome back to Nova Talk, where we dive into all things relationships, self care, and navigating the roller coaster of love. I'm your host, Kat, and today we're getting into something that really impacts the way we connect in relationships: attachment styles. Specifically, how they develop, and more importantly, how you can change them if they're causing trouble in your relationships. Because let's be real, getting stuck in unhealthy patterns in love can be exhausting. So, if you've ever wondered why you approach relationships the way you do or how to make a change for the better, this episode is for you. Whether you've heard about attachment styles before or it's totally new to you, by the end of this episode, you'll have a better understanding of how they develop and how they show up in your life. And listen, this is big because understanding your attachment style can help you avoid some of those sticky relationship patterns that we keep getting stuck in. You know the ones I'm talking about. All right, before we jump into the juicy part about how to change your attachment style, first things first, what the hell are attachment styles? Attachment styles are basically the blueprint for how we relate to others, especially in romantic relationships. They're formed during our childhood and are shaped by our relationships with our caregivers. So, yeah, a lot of this goes way back. There are four main types of attachment styles: secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, and fearful avoidant, aka disorganized attachment. And quick sidebar, it's important to know that no attachment style is bad, okay? These are patterns we develop to protect ourselves based on our early experiences. So if you hear your attachment style and start to feel called out, just know that the goal is awareness, not judgment. So, how do we actually develop our attachment styles? The short version, it's all about how we bonded with our primary caregivers as kids. When we're babies, we depend on our caregivers for everything: food, safety, love, you name it. If our caregivers were reliable, consistent, and emotionally available, ding ding, that's when a secure attachment is likely to form. We grow up believing that we can rely on others and we're comfortable with both intimacy and independence. On the flip side, if a caregiver was inconsistent, sometimes there for us, sometimes not, this can lead to an anxious attachment style. With this style, you may constantly worry about your partner pulling away, and you might need a lot of reassurance in relationships. Spoiler alert, that can get exhausting for both people. If caregivers were distant or unresponsive, an avoidant attachment style might develop. This is where someone learns to be emotionally self sufficient because they felt like they couldn't depend on anyone else. In relationships, people with avoidant attachment might have a hard time opening up and prefer keeping some emotional distance. And finally, if a caregiver was abusive, neglectful, or caused confusion and fear, we get the fearful avoidance style. It's a mix of craving closeness but also being terrified of it. So you can imagine how that makes relationships extra tricky. Now, let's talk about how these attachment styles actually play out in real life. We all want love and connection, but the way we approach it can look very different depending on our attachment style. For example, someone with a secure attachment is usually comfortable with emotional closeness and can trust their partner without being overly clingy or distant. This doesn't mean they don't have issues, because everyone does, but they tend to be pretty balanced in their relationship. Someone with an anxious attachment might constantly need reassurance, worry that their partner will leave, or gets really upset over perceived signs of rejection. If your partner takes an hour to text back and you're spiraling, yeah, you might have an anxious attachment style going on. Avoidant attachment, on the other hand, can look like being cool, calm, and collected on the outside, but emotionally distant. People with avoidant attachment might seem like they don't need their partner or even pushes them away, especially when things get too close for comfort. And for those with fearful avoidant attachment, relationships can feel like a tug of war. They might desperately want connection, but then panic and withdraw when things start getting serious. It's like hitting the gas and the brakes at the same time. The whole point of understanding your attachment style is so that you can start shifting toward a more secure style. It's all about doing the inner work and learning how to trust, communicate, and connect in healthier ways. Therapy can be a huge help with this, especially if you're dealing with anxious or avoidant tendencies. Also, being in a relationship with someone who has a secure attachment style can help you feel more secure over time. It's kind of like they lead by example, and it's super healing to experience that kind of consistency and care. Now, let's get to the part you're probably waiting for. How do we go from anxious or avoidant to secure? I've got you covered with some solid, actionable tips. First things first, you've got to know your starting point. It's all about self awareness. Take a step back and ask yourself, how do I usually act in relationships? Am I anxious, constantly needing validation? Do I avoid emotional closeness? Recognizing your patterns is the first step in changing them. Try journaling about your past relationships. What feelings come up when you think about how you act when you're really into someone? Do you notice patterns? Reflect on how your attachment style might be affecting your relationships right now. And y'all, I can't say this enough. Therapy is magic when it comes to attachment issues. Talking with a professional helps you unpack those early childhood experiences and figure out how they've shaped your attachment style. It's also a great way to learn how to communicate better, set boundaries, and manage emotional triggers. Look for a therapist who specializes in attachment theory or relationship issues. If therapy feels like a big leap, there are also tons of self help books and online resources to start with. A couple of good ones are Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, and The Power of Attachment by Diane Poole Heller. Not sure if I said those right, but you get the point. And if you are considering therapy, definitely hit us up at www.novatherapyplc.com so you can get started. If you tend to have an anxious or fearful avoidant attachment style, managing your emotions is crucial. When you feel like your partner is pulling away or you're worried about being rejected, it can send your emotions into overdrive. Learning how to regulate these feelings helps you respond to situations in a healthy way rather than reacting out of fear or insecurity. Mindfulness practices like meditation and deep breathing can help. Next time you feel anxious in your relationship, take a moment to pause, breathe, and ground yourself before reacting. Over time, this helps you feel more in control of your emotions instead of them controlling you. If you want to build emotional regulation skills, I definitely would recommend seeking out a DBT therapist. DBT stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy, and the main focus of DBT is emotional regulation skills. For those with an anxious or avoidant attachment style, communication can feel like a minefield. But one of the best ways to move toward a secure attachment is learning to express your needs in a clear and non confrontational way. It's okay to need reassurance or space. It's just about learning to communicate it in a way that's healthy and not driven by fear or avoidance. The next time you're feeling anxious or disconnected in a relationship, instead of retreating into your old habits, try calmly expressing your feelings. You can say something like, "Hey, I've been feeling a little insecure about where we're at lately. Can we talk about it?" This builds trust and emotional safety between you and your partner. Look, changing your attachment style is not about beating yourself up for being anxious or avoidant. You develop these patterns as a way to protect yourself. Be kind to yourself during this process and remember that growth takes time. Start practicing self compassion. When you notice yourself slipping into an old attachment pattern, don't criticize yourself. Instead, acknowledge it gently and remind yourself that you're working on it. Self love is a huge part of becoming more secure in relationships. If you want to shift towards secure attachments, surrounding yourself with people who already have a secure style can help you get there. This doesn't mean you have to cut off people with anxious or avoidant tendencies, but spending time with friends, family, or a romantic partner who models healthy emotional connection can be super beneficial. Pay attention to how secure people handle stress and communicate in relationships. How do they deal with conflict? How do they express love? This is the behavior you want to mirror and incorporate into your own life. All right, fam, to recap, your attachment styles play a huge role in how you relate to your partner. It's influenced by your early relationships, but you have the power to heal and grow into a more secure attachment style. Whether you're anxious, avoidant, or fearful avoidant, awareness is the first step to breaking those patterns that aren't serving you. Your attachment style isn't a life sentence. You can absolutely shift towards a more secure attachment by becoming aware of your patterns, practicing emotional regulation, communicating better, and surrounding yourself with healthy connections. It's all about putting in the work and being kind to yourself along the way. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Nova Talk. If you love this convo on attachment styles, be sure to share it with a friend or partner. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Nova Talk. Catch you in the next episode. Until then, stay loving and stay kind. Peace.